Let us move on to the Leader of the Liberal Opposition from Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Still more examples of the Premier's sense of entitlement and waste of taxpayer dollars. Today we learned that the Premier and an aide or two or three frequently fly on one plane, while other members of the PC caucus take another different flight to the same destination within an hour of Red Force One's departure. In all of these cases, the PC MLAs, the Premier, and members of the Imperial Court could have fit on one plane. To the Premier, why don't you just plane pool? Mr. Speaker, I don't know if plane pool is a word, but why don't you save the taxpayers some money and plane pool?
You know, Mr. Speaker, what they're referring to is a news article that appeared, I guess, this morning from, I believe, the Calgary Herald, that talked about 10 instances over the past 2 years. 10 instances over the past 2 years where government aircraft departed from and or arrived at the same location at a nearby airport within the hour. Mr. Speaker, we do our best to ensure that the calendars and the flights leaving are coordinated as best as possible. We do have a lot of flights every year, Mr. Speaker, because our ministers are getting around this province and they are doing the work that Albertans elected them to do, Mr. Speaker.
For a supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, it's no wonder this government can't balance the budget. They're minimizing something that is a major mismanagement problem. Mr. Speaker, the Premier's Chief of Staff earns more than President Obama's Chief of Staff. Her Director of Communications earned more than the President's Director of Communications. A lot of people in the Imperial Court make a lot of money. But despite this high-priced talent, there's apparently nobody who can figure out how to get the Premier from point A to point B at a responsible cost. To the Premier, instead of spending $300,000 on new letter writers to respond to your Travelgate complaints, why don't you just hire a travel agent at a fraction of the cost?
Honourable Premier.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as we've said in this House as the front bench, we're very concerned about making sure that taxpayers get value for dollars, and that's critical. That's one of the reasons, Mr. Speaker, we've asked the Auditor General to take the steps that we have. It's one of the reasons I've asked the Minister of Finance to take steps with respect to tendering for RFPs. But, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member's reference to the correspondence unit is inappropriate only because, Mr. Speaker, these are professional public servants that are communicating with Albertans when they write to the Government of Alberta and the Premier asking about government policy. This is an important part of the democratic process, and I wish the honourable member would minimise it.
For final supplemental.
Premier, there you go again. Mr. Speaker, the latest chapter in the Travelgate scandal must not distract us from the heart of the matter, which is this. The Premier still has not paid back the $45,000 she acknowledged that she wasted on the South Africa trip. Maybe she hopes Albertans have forgotten.
No.
The Premier, I can assure you they have not.
No, they haven't.
To the Premier, you're rich. You get paid well. You receive a generous party allowance. When will you pay back the $45,000 you wasted?
Mr. Speaker, as I've said in this House, we're very concerned about ensuring that there are systems in place to ensure that this unfortunate incident doesn't happen again. It's why I've asked the Auditor General to take the steps that I have to ground the planes, to review the process for making decisions about out-of-province travel, to asking the Finance Minister to deal with these issues. But I really wish the honourable member wouldn't make false assertions in this House with respect to what I may or may not receive.